What's up, party people? I was just talking with our producer, Bess, and her husband. We're talking about Iron Man stuff, and it got me super excited. Then the music started playing, so I'm just super jazzed to be with you guys for a multitude of reasons. But we're going to talk about a topic with a lot of confusion. A lot of people have a lot of passion around this topic. They get upset with this topic. It's just a whole ordeal. So, but we're going to cover some key things today, and I'm going to reference an article that you guys will be able to easily access and read on your own time. You can look into the sources, but we're talking about where there's these statements about low carb diets that are misleading. Okay. So, I just want to start off by saying, first off, we have nothing but respect for the low carb community, for people who follow low carb diets. I think we have more in common than we don't have in common. So that's important to know. And that everybody out there who's taking the time and the energy and putting in the effort to commit to a well executed, clean, healthy, low carb diet, like that's amazing. That's amazing. We're on the same path here. We're trying to address metabolic issues. You're trying to reverse insulin resistance. You're trying to reverse type 2 diabetes. Like we're all on the same page. That's amazing. Okay. So we have fish chasers. I'm a recovering low carber. Ha ha ha. Used a high fat carnivore diet, reversed prediabetes symptoms and obesity. But after a couple of years, I developed potassium deficiency, heart palpitations. Yeah, so those are the long-term consequences. Those are some of the long-term consequences that we're often warning people against. Glad to have you with us, fish chasers. Glad to have you with us. Cleveland with type 2 diabetes, peripheral neuropathy. I'm in Australia. I don't have anything that I know of. My brother's type 2, diabetic, obese, long-term, nearly dead, trying to learn. Okay, good. I'm glad you're here to learn. Cleveland with type 2 diabetes, peripheral neuropathy. John, welcome. That neuropathy, that stuff can be real frustrating. We want to help you deal with that, okay? All right. Kidney beans is a good question. Guys, just so you know, we absolutely support kidney beans here at Mastering Diabetes, just so you know, make that clear. Okay? All right. So, Crystal says, people get upset because two stories and endocrinologists say low carb, you say low fat, high carb, science says different things. Okay, so Crystal, I'm so glad you are here with us. I want to ask everybody in the comments, who in the comments has read our book called Mastering Diabetes? Have you read the book? What's been your experience? Because here's the deal. This book has over 800 citations, 800 scientific references in here. The longest chapter with the most scientific references is chapter 7. Okay, let me give you the title of chapter 7, just so you can understand this. Chapter 7 is called "The Ketogenic Diet versus a Low-Fat, Plant-Based, Whole Food Diet: A Comparison of Short-Term and Long-Term Results." All right. So if you haven't, I highly suggest you pick up a copy of the book. Right. You can get this on Amazon. You can get it at your local library, most likely. If you've never opened up an Audible account, you can listen to it on Audible. Cyrus and I, we read the book. We had a really good time doing so. It was fantastic. Okay. So, the reason I bring this up is because of the comment about the science not being clear. The science actually is clear. When you dig into the science, when you can really understand the science, okay, it is clear. It is telling a consistent story, all right? Now, there are nuances to understand, and we cover that in the book for sure. We can cover some of that here today, but it's actually clear. The science is not unclear. So what I'm going to do now is we got Texas type 1. I love interacting with you guys, so keep asking questions, and we'll just have some fun here, and then we'll get into some of the information. Reading now, plus started my one-on-one coaching this week. Excellent, Miss T. Excellent, excellent, excellent. If anybody here, if you're interested in, you want to learn more about coaching, you could just type the word coaching in the chat box and Will somebody reach out to you? But I'm in the process of reading it. I love it. I have type 2. Excellent, Tracy. I can't wait for you to say, I used to have type 2. That's our goal. So I love interacting with you guys. Tracy, have you had a C-peptide test? And how long have you been living with type 2? Tracy, I really want you to be a success story. And I want to know some facts right now so I can help you out. Okay? All right. Fish Chaser says the only carb count I do now is 1 banana. Munch, munch, 2 banana, munch, 3. That's funny. That's funny. You're counting the bananas you're consuming. That's funny, Fish Chasers. Yeah, I like your vibe. You like your vibe. Emmanuel says my diabetes was resolved on keto, but my fasting insulin level raised. Okay, so let's just talk about this in general, right? Before we get into some of these key particular statements. But our position here at Mastering Diabetes, okay? Our position is you have not reversed type 2 diabetes. You have not reversed insulin resistance if you can't pass an oral glucose tolerance test. So the dedicated keto folks who are hardcore keto, you lose a bunch of weight, you get off medications, you're feeling good, way better than you were feeling before, okay? And you now sort of have this new mindset based on the learnings and the books you've read and the teachers you've learned from. You have this idea that why would I want to do an oral glucose tolerance test? Why would I want to put glucose in my body? That's so damaging. Why would I do that? And so that's where we differ. That's where we differ, right? If you are not living in a state where you can metabolize glucose, whether that's from the oral glucose tolerance test or from the carbohydrate-rich foods that you're going to consume on a whole food plant-based diet, then we are concerned for your long-term metabolic health. We do not have long-term studies. We do not have long-term societies or groups of people who consciously chose to avoid carbohydrate-rich foods and had long, healthy lives. We don't have that data. This keto stuff, it's been recycled over and over again as different diets over all the years, but nobody sticks with it, and nobody has any long-term data on this approach. And certainly they're not long-term societies who've done this approach. Whereas on the flip side, you do have all of the longest lived people that we have studied, that we are aware of. They have one thing in common. I have a lot of things in common. One of them is that they ate carbohydrate-rich foods in different volumes. Like in Okinawa, the longest lived people ever discovered, they were eating majority of their calories from potatoes and had a very low-fat diet, very, very minimal animal products, like 2% or so from animal products. It's very, very plant-forward diet, high in carbohydrates. That's the longest lived people we know of. Other parts around the world, whether it's Loma Linda, whether it's Nicoya, Costa Rica, there's other blue zones. You can learn about these from Dan Buettner, but none of them are doing a keto diet. And these are the longest lived people, lowest rates of chronic disease, highest quality of life. And so that's why we are such big proponents here of addressing insulin resistance, addressing type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, by following a low-fat, plant-based whole food diet. That is what can get you great results in the short term and has been studied over the long term and shown significant benefit. All right. So what I want to do here is I'll answer a few more questions. I follow a high protein diet. I follow a high carb, high protein diet, low fat. I'm just trying to be healthy and I weight lift. What are your thoughts on whole wheat durum, wheat pasta, and what are your thoughts on protein powders? Okay, so Daniel, if you're not living with any specific chronic disease and you got no issues, I say you focus on your goals and you keep doing what's making you happy, right? If you're getting the results you like in the gym, these foods they're digesting well for you, you feel good, you perform well, fantastic. If anything comes up where you want to address a chronic disease or something, that's where we come in. We help people reverse insulin resistance. If you're not struggling with insulin resistance, this might not be the place for you, to be honest, right? Like You got a lot of other people you can learn from. Simon Hill from Plant Proof. He's a big guy into weights and performance. He might be a good person to learn from, right? So check out your resources. Seek out experts who have what you want. I think that's a really important thing. Seek out experts who have what you want. You can really trust them. Trust they've been there, done that. If someone doesn't produce insulin anymore for type 2 diabetes, does that make them type 1? Carrie, great question. In the book, I think we're one of the first books to make this very clear distinction. I don't know what page it's on, but we made the distinction in the book of insulin-dependent type 2 diabetes. So you're not technically type 1 because it's not autoimmune, right? There's no antibodies present. So in that case, you're just insulin-dependent type 2, and that's because your beta cells have been exhausted and they're not producing a sufficient amount of insulin. There are some studies that demonstrate that some of that insulin production can come back. Your C-peptide function can improve. So I would set the intention to see how much of an improvement you could get there, but you're still type 2, okay? Or that person is still type 2. All right. What about fat soluble vitamins? You need a certain amount of fat. Oh, I love this. We're having so much fun. Okay, hold on. Let me find this in the book. We have an entire section for fat soluble vitamins. Let's see if I can find that. Let's see. Let's try this page. 52. I really should just search the PDF on my computer. That would be better. No, it's not going to work. Let's try this one. 155. Next time I'll be a little more prepared. Okay. So we have a whole section on fat soluble vitamins. All right. And here's the deal. You can meet all your essential fatty acid requirements quite easily on a low-fat plant-based whole food diet. And you can get this confirmed and checked through a test called, it's from a company called Omega Quant. We wrote about that in the book, okay? Let me see if I can actually bring it up here right now. If I could do this. I'm going to try it. All right. File, open recent. I don't see it. Okay, we'll deal with it next time. All right, next question. It's in the book. Clearly, it's not a problem. You can use Chronometer. You can use nutrition logging software to confirm that you got all your essential fatty acids. You can get blood work to confirm you have all the EPA and DHA you need to function properly. It doesn't need to be something that is subjective. Make it objective. Okay, it's a huge part of our coaching program. All right. Can insulin-dependent type 2 reverse? I have no weight to lose. Post-meal blood glucose are 14 and fasting up to 7 without insulin. Okay, so in this case, I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose you, but what I can do is encourage you to contact your doctor and get the right test. If you've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and you are at your ideal weight, this person says, I have no weight to lose. That's a possibility you've been misdiagnosed. You might be living with what's known as type 1.5 diabetes, also known as LADA, latent autoimmune diabetes in adults. And you would get this confirmed through C-peptide testing and diabetes antibody testing. We have helped many, many, many people who have been completely misdiagnosed. They did not get the standard of care because their doctor didn't run the right tests. Once you get the right tests, there is a standard of care for how to address that situation. It's not opinion, right? It's just science. So you got to get your test. I just was diagnosed with type 2 in June, spent 3 days in ICU. My blood sugar was 565, had to take insulin 4 times a day now. I have lost 40 pounds and I'm off all the insulin and my A1C went from 14 to 6. I'm trying really hard to live the plant life now. Tracy, that's fantastic progress. That's huge. You're off the insulin. Your A1C is 6. So your A1C now is in the pre-diabetes range. I'd be curious to get a C-peptide test just to see what your insulin production's at. It's such a valuable test. It should be done. The article that we have on the topic, we call it the most important test for diabetes. It's like that was the most important blood test for diabetes. There it is. That we stand by that. It is so, and it should be done several times, right? Just like you get your A1C all the time, and you can sort of see, changes and progress. This is a test you should get repeatedly as you're on your journey of becoming more insulin sensitive, and it's just fascinating. Even for type 1s, it's fascinating to see, do you still have a little bit of insulin production left, or do you have like none? My C-peptide is in an undetectable range. Like, it's just non-detectable. It's essentially zero insulin is being produced. They can't detect any insulin. So fascinating stuff. Do artificial sweeteners slow metabolism? I can't say I've read research on artificial sweeteners and metabolism. We did write about it in this book. If I was you, I would do your best to avoid them. And there's a lot of reasons. There's debate about this. But here's one reason that I think there is no debate, and I think is pretty logical and common sense. Your mission to live the best, healthiest life, part of that mission is to get to a place where you thoroughly enjoy and are like happily stimulated by natural foods. Like when you have that mango just tastes amazing to you. It tastes super sweet. It hits all the buzzers, and just makes you happy, right? When you are putting in artificial sweeteners, think the concentrated sources of sweetness, it inhibits your ability to really enjoy the natural flavors in whole foods. And I think that is a big problem for your long-term plan of sticking to a plant-based diet. So I would try and avoid them. I'd stick with whole foods and let your taste buds recalibrate. My waist says I have changes in insulin resistance. The doctor says nothing wrong with me. Wondering if any resources about LISSS cardio for weight loss and sensitivity. No, Eskimo Blue Zones. Condolences to those living in ice and snow. It's funny. I'm not sure about what your waist says. I'm not sure what LISS cardio is. So can't really help here. But we'll go to the next question. I have enjoyed the fruit-based eating I learned here, but summer's almost over, wondering what to eat for carbs in the cold winter. Okay, so we have a whole resource for this. You just Google high carb foods, mastering diabetes. You will see an entire list. It's also in the book. There's a list. There's a list of all of our green light foods in I believe it's in the appendix. There we go, right there. Master list of green light foods. Boom, right there. Master list of green light foods. So the point is, number one, you'll still be able to get a lot of fruits because that's just the way our world exists right now. Fruits are available. There it is. Yeah, scroll all the way down, Bess. And way deep down there, you'll see all these pictures. So there's all kinds of frozen foods you can get. There'll still be fresh foods. But then keep scrolling, Bess. Go past the fruit. And you're going to start seeing, starchy vegetables first. Boom. These are what you eat. Then you eat the beans and the peas, and then you eat the intact whole grains. These are all options. And on our website, we have tons of free recipes. So I'm showing you the ingredients. Obviously, you're not just going to sit down and have a meal of like bulgur. Just plain bulgur is not going to be all that exciting. But in the recipe section of our website, we also have recipes and meal plans in this book. That's where you can figure out how to put these ingredients into action. All right. So here's the deal, guys. This has been fun. I love interacting, like answering your questions and being present for those who are here and asking questions. That's like my highest priority. I'm going to keep doing that, but we're going to run out of time. In 9 minutes, you'll be able to go and join Cyrus on the Amla Green channel, and you'll be able to learn from him and just have a really good time. So that's why we're going to end on time. Somebody said, can cancer patients eat all fruits or just a little bit of berries since they're lower in the... So if you want to learn about cancer, I suggest Googling Chris Beat Cancer. He's been on our podcast. He's been in our summits. He shares his story of how he beat cancer, and he has a whole podcast and a whole program of how people who've learned from him have beat their cancer. and how to communicate with your doctor, all that stuff. Like, and let me just tell you something. Chris he's not he's not telling you not to eat fruit. There's actually a pretty popular video of him and I that we made together. All right. Is a C-peptide result of 1.8 high enough to reverse type 2? Kirsty, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. Let me show you something. C-peptide mastering diabetes. Let me show you this little chart we have here. 1.8 is pretty good. Let's look at this. Let's look at this together, okay? I'm going to present my screen, share screen. Boom. Okay. 1.8 is going to put you in the medium range. All right. If you do not have any antibodies, type 2 diabetes with impaired insulin production, insulin unlikely. Okay. So this is where we really believe. Basically, what this chart is saying in real simplicity is like, you want to be here. If you're living with type 2, you've been diagnosed as type 2, you go and get a C-peptide. You want it above 1.0. Above 2.0 is amazing, but you want it above 1.0. You want no antibodies, and then you want to become as insulin sensitive as humanly possible. Okay, that becomes your mission. Your mission becomes, okay, insulin production is a little bit compromised, but boy, oh boy, am I going to get the most out of that insulin. And that's what Cyrus and I experience every single day, and that's why we're so passionate about this. Because we experience insulin sensitivity every day, every meal. We know how a very small amount of insulin can go a very long way. And that's what we want for all of you guys. My brother has numbers like 6, 12, 15. Why do others say numbers like 400? Okay, yes, you're in a different country. So you take that 6 and you'd multiply it times 18. 6 times 18, that'd be 108. 15 times 18, that's 270. Right? So the 400 is when people are talking about, that's like US numbers. All right. So there you go. All right. What's next? With your coaching clients, have you seen anyone who truly thrive better on high protein and a bit of fat? Now, when it comes to insulin sensitivity, you will not see, it's just facts. It's just science. Somebody will not display a greater level of insulin sensitivity by increasing protein and fat. It won't happen. People can make different arguments of like, oh, well, I feel better. I perform better at the gym. I'm more satisfied. But you can have all kinds of like personal, unique answers to such a situation. You can find that all over the internet. But if you want to just do like factually speaking, oral glucose tolerance test, a person who's type 1, they will not demonstrate that insulin works more efficiently at taking glucose out of the bloodstream into cells by adding protein and adding fat. Won't happen. Once you reverse your insulin sensitivity, can you add in more yellow-light foods like avocado nuts? Sarah, that's a personal situation. It's going to be different for each person. For type 1, it becomes very problematic. For somebody who's type 2 and they've lost a ton of weight, they're able to maintain it. They've really cleaned up their dietary habits. And they feel like they can add a little more. I've seen it happen. It's a personal decision. We'd rather you get to a place where, as you're reversing insulin resistance, you feel like you're doing something that is sustainable. That you feel like you don't have to change. You don't want to change once the weights come off. Okay, I had type 1-5 diabetes and I'm fighting arthritis flare-ups. Are there supplements I need? I can't say I'm an expert on arthritis supplements. I bet our coaching team would have some thoughts, though. So, sorry, I can't say I'm an expert on that one. All right, guys, this has been fun. So, here's the deal. We have 4 minutes. So, one more thing for you guys. We didn't even get to the low carb thing, so I'll probably do that next week. We'll do it next week. This turned into be just a Q&A, which was great. I put my brother. No, I'm sorry, not that. What I want to say is we really got to go. But if you want a free guide for losing weight, just write the word yo-yo in the chat box. you have to do that on Facebook, and we'll get you the guide. I want to make sure I was able to offer that to you. So just write yo-yo in the chat box if you want the free guide for how to lose weight and keep it off for good. It's four tips. So you just got to write yo-yo in the Facebook comments, and you'll get this guide. Next week, we'll talk about these misleading statements, and we'll have a good time doing that. So I really enjoy engaging with you guys. This is super fun. So it's my highest priority is to just be with you guys that are present and here and active, and get your questions answered, help you guys get results. That's what we're all about. So the other live is happening in 2 minutes, and it's happening on the Amla Green Facebook page. Right, so you go to just type in Amla Green into Facebook. You'll be able to see Cyrus going live in a matter of minutes. So thanks a lot, guys. Take action. Get the book. Get the book. If you've read it once, read it again and put it into action. Okay? Put it into action. All right. Catch you guys later.